big TFcon welcome to Chris Ho. Woo! Believe it or not, this is his first TFcon. No, absolutely not. Chris, we're waiting to hear about maintaining joy in collecting, so take it away, my friend.
Yeah, just so everyone knows how badass this is going to be, new MacBooks don't have HDMI ports, so we're doing a little bit of theater of the mind. I got a clicker, and I'm clicking it on here as well. So I might run over and just peek to see if we're on the right spot now and then, or I'll ask you all.
No, I got it.
We all good? All right.
All right.
So, maintaining joy in collecting, that's the name of this presentation. This is part of a series.
You're good.
We good?
You're good.
All right. This is part of Why Do We Enjoy the Toy? You should now see the title of the series, and you should also see a big friendly QR code to the playlist for that series. Yep. You guys are great post-production assistants. This series is about, it started off at least, about subjective reasons why we enjoy our collections beyond simply owning and acquiring them. Because eventually, you can't just live and subsist off of acquiring and owning things. There's an entire interaction that's missing in there. So, this is all a hobby as well. And in my opinion, a hobby has to be in service of you. It's a phrase I've started using more often, partly to myself. A hobby's got to be primarily doing nice things for you. Joy being one part of that. So, why does joy matter? Now, number one, what kind of a question is that for me, a human being, to ask a bunch of you, fellow human beings? We're all human beings in here, right? Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, your hobby time should not be joyless. I'm not going to go hard on this tangent because we only got so much time, but one thing to think about really quickly and up front is, do you find that you spend a lot of your hobby time happy, or do you find you spend a lot of your hobby time mad, or just upset, or bummed out? It's something to consider and perhaps diagnostic. It's supposed to balance against that which is less joyful. I.e., say you have a real grind of a job. Your hobby shouldn't feel like another real grind of a job. That doesn't mean you shouldn't go out hunting stuff, but if it feels like a second job, again, it might be time to self-assess just a little bit. Something in service of you should also generally uplift you. I mentioned before, if you spend a lot of your time being angry in your hobby time, it's probably not uplifting you. And I'm not saying, I'm going to say a lot of stuff like this. I'm not saying just don't be mad ever, because that's not fellow human activity, right? We're all fellow humans in here. But you have hobbies, right? Your hobbies do not have you. Your hobbies are not your identity. They are bullet points underneath your identity, which is a big conglomeration of all kinds of physical, metaphysical things. Stuff you eat's part of your identity, technically, because it's fueling your brain, and that's where some of your identity lives. Downer periods and moments should be uncommon, and when they happen, say that you have a hard debate with someone, or you are really trying to chase something that you're excited about, that stuff should pay off exponentially. A stressful toy hunt should result in tons of dopamine from the toy, not from any other, substance or whatever you might be adding on afterwards. So that, I'm trying to once again say, there's got to be times for stuff to get a bit hard, but then it's got to cycle back really heavily. Now, is this toxic positivity? Is this head in the sand escapism? I mentioned a few seconds ago about how we might be swinging a little bit from extremes here. I'm basically saying think critically, but with purpose that's in service of you. Slight topic jump, but if you really want to dissect a film that you're watching, you really want to dig into a piece of media you're enjoying, that needs to have a purpose. Similarly with toy collecting, if you really want to dig into your collections, into your hobbies, whatever it happens to make as media, dig into it, but it's got to have a purpose when you're digging into it. You can't just dig into it for the sake of digging into it, unless you are riding that cool razor's edge where that is your dopamine rush. It's a rough one, you're threading a needle, but anyway, one thing that you should try to do is identify your joy. Now, there is a film where someone had to do this. That film is Everything Everywhere All at Once. There's joy. However, that's not everyone's joy. I checked. I said, can I also? And I was told, no, it's a movie. Stop calling this address. So we're going to need to identify some of our own joy. Starting off, I could ask the question, why do you enjoy the toy? Check out that QR code floating in up there on the top corner. That'll lead you to a playlist with the same name. One thing you can do is mark your favorite moments in your hobby. This is just a really nice self-diagnostic, especially if you're having some hobby time and you're getting bummed out and you notice it. It's like, okay, hold on a second. Why am I so upset during hobby time? So one thing you can do is think about your collecting. Think about specifically with your collecting, what are moments of collecting that made you really joyful? What were moments in collecting that make you happy? What are moments that don't come with the baggage of constantly having to go through hardship to reach that joy? Also, you can think about your socializing in your hobby. That's something we're doing right now as fellow humans. So think about, obviously, if you've come to a lot of conventions, think about your fun times at conventions. Think about if you're on the hunt for something, consider thinking about when you did that in a dealer room and it went well. Like, just once again, try to touchstone with moments that you know are joy generators. You can also think about analysis. If you're someone who likes to write feedback posts on TFW or something, if you like to make reviews, if you like to think about your stuff critically the way I've alluded to before, think about how that has been enriching for you. If you're, say, a reviewer online, but you're really upset about it, it's not making you feel any joy, think about when it did and how you might be able to pivot that activity a little bit. Also, customizing. Some of you might have done a custom class this morning, I don't know. I see nodding heads, so we can confirm. And this is not just literal toy customization, but like the way that you've set up your shelves, the way that you've stored your figures if you can't have everything on shelves. Just the way that you've made your hobby into your own. That's another touchstone that I think can be pretty universal. What have you done to just personalize how you engage with your hobby? And then there's creating. This bounces off of all this stuff. Do you make customs? Do you make videos? Do you make podcasts? Do you write articles in 2024? Because you're a hero! And once again, just think about when all those things brought about joy. This whole assembly of things I talked about here is what we refer to in the business as the C-SACC. Now, I'll demonstrate what this means. The C-SACC is made up out of the collecting, socializing, analysis, customizing, and creating. That's C-SACC, or the C-SACC. Scientifically speaking, that's what we call an acronym. Now I'm trying to get you all in on the industry here a little bit, but to continue on from there, let's talk about how you can use your C-SACC for the sake of your joy. How can you make your C-SACC into a tool for good? What you need to do first is grip your C-SACC. And by that I mean run a diagnostic through your current joy activator, some of that stuff I was just talking about before. And you don't have to do this with any specific regularity or at all, but as I mentioned, it's something to consider if you find your hobby time is not bringing you joy. So look back on the C-SACC, all of those various things contained and floating within. And it's okay when something doesn't hit right anymore. That'll sometimes just happen. That happened with me and Lego. I spent a good year and a half like going, yeah, Lego, sick, and then I kind of realized I'm not really feeling joy engaging with Lego myself. I like hearing about it, I like seeing my friends mess around with it, but I'm not really feeling it myself, and that's fine. And also, it's okay when nothing's changed. If you're diagnosing your C-SACC and it's functioning normally, it seems, all the conduits are running the right way, doesn't mean like, you know, okay, I gotta figure out what's wrong with it. That just means you got a functioning C-SACC, and that's good. But also, don't starve a thirsty C-SACC. You don't need to engage out of obligation. And this is a point that kind of leads into when you, as an example, you expose yourself to a lot of things that rob you of your joy. Say that you are a regular poster on a forum in 2024, in which case you're a hero for maintaining that classic vocation. But if you find that when you're posting, it's like, I'm not happy most of the time, but I got to get in there. This is my forum I live on. That's a moment when you might want to go, hey, I might be engaging out of obligation. Because at the end of the day, in your hobby time, you have to be a little selfish. It's easy sometimes to forget that all of these things, the hobby is a hobby. It is in service of you. It can sometimes feel like, well, I can't be selfish about my hobby time. I've got to be objective, and I've got to make sure I balance the good with the bad. It's like, no, it's a hobby. You don't got to balance nothing. Do all the good over and over again. If you just like cracking open toys and selling them, and you don't like to figure out how to put them on a shelf, don't. Just crack them open and sell them. Be selfish. It's all right. The C-SACC abides. But also, let a tuckered C-SACC regain its vitality. You probably can't maintain a high, perky level of joy if you've overworked it. I mean, some of you might be able to. Everyone's got different, levels of stamina when it comes to their hobbies. But if you find your C-SACC is getting a little bit tired, a little bit, tuckered out, so slightly deflated, give it a sec to regain its strength. Take a nap. Go to one of your other hobbies, because you don't need to have multiples, but it sure is helpful. I like to think of those other hobbies as little lifeboats for my C-SACC. When it can't stay afloat in the ocean of dopamine, it needs to hop into a lifeboat. Let's think about industrial music. Let's think about action cinema that uses the rule of triangles. Let's give it a little break. Let's go look at a Kamen Rider. That's another hobby. And I've mentioned a lot about joy, right? It's 2024. A topic of the now is the world versus joy. Because this decade has been a real thing. Did you know we're actually almost halfway? Did you know it's the mid-2020s? It's messed up. It's messed up. Listen, I sent a letter. I sent a letter to my member of parliament. I sent a letter to the president. And I sent a letter to a couple European countries because I had stamps. Nobody listened. But it's kind of a rough decade. I've talked to friends, and this is one reason why my panels have taken a certain tone this decade, because there is a whole lot about how do I kind of keep my hobby feeling the way that I remember it feeling. And while frankly a lot of hobbies have undergone change, sorry, let me rephrase that, are still undergoing change. It's just a fact of the decade. I've gone into this in previous panels, but like one key word, the global shipping catastrophe, for instance. Change is inevitable. However, this is something my mom taught me. Change can also be really exciting. Scary and exciting go hand in hand, but when something's inevitable, you kind of gotta figure out a way to ride it out. Because joy is worth maintaining, and more importantly, you are worth maintaining. That's something that's just worth saying now and then. So when, for instance, as an example, you might have someone who's really mad because I remember when deluxes were $10. I remember when Toys R Us out by Square One had Prime first edition deluxes and Titan's Return on sale every other month. It's like, I do too, but that's not what's going on right now, so it's worth figuring out how to readjust a little bit. And by readjust, figure out what does still bring you joy and focus on that. Be selfish. If hunting for toys isn't fun anymore, take a break from hunting for toys. Don't make yourself go through it. Figure out if you like ordering stuff in from online. And if you don't, figure out like, hey, in this particular hobby, do I just like chilling out with some of the media? Do I want to rediscover stuff in the toys and items I already have? That QR code had some panels all about that kind of idea. Because the thing that I found kind of the saddest in the community level have been folks who are trapped just trying to find the 2010s again in a way that I don't think you really can. Things like wave completionism and whatnot. So this isn't going to be a universal thing for everyone, but if you can just figure out where your joy was and where it exists now, I guarantee you some of it still exists now. You just got to self-diagnostic and dig around for it a little bit. It can be daunting, but it's worth it in the end, figuring out why you enjoy parts of your hobbies. If a hobby has become just something that you can't find that joy in anymore, I bet you it exists somewhere else out there. Ask your friends what else they're into outside of, for instance, Transformers. If Transformers just ain't doing it I suspect if you're at this convention and also in this panel, it's probably still doing something for you. But, yeah, we got a couple folks who are in rehab. But you still can ask your friends, like, okay, I'm not feeling Transformers, but what else are you all into right now? You might have someone who is just chomping at the bit to tell you about Ultraman. You might have someone who just really wants to tell you about a couple cool movies they saw from, say, the folks who did Swiss Army Man and Everything Ever All with the Davids. You might have someone like me who wants to rant at you about maximalist, joyful filmmaking for a little bit. Your friends are totally a great place to find that kind of information. So anyway, let's talk a little bit. We got some time, and ideally some of y'all feel like you've got words in your head about this stuff. So as a couple prompts, you can come up, like we're going to have a Q&A mic. You can ask whatever you want. But as a couple of prompt ideas, what's one reason why you enjoy the toy? Hey, look, it's that QR code again. I learned how to make those thanks to my friend Aaron. He's over there. He said Google QR code generator and learn how to screen capture. It's good advice. But also, what's one of your identifiable joy activators? This has been a conversation during a panel in some of the original Why Do We Enjoy the Toys? This is a bit of a permutation of that. Like, if you think about it, like, do you have a joy activator that you might want to just share with everybody, and maybe it will connect with somebody else in the room? And how tight a grip have you got on the C-SACC? Like, now that we're all thinking about it, like, do you got fingernails in? You know, are you trying to get a hold of it with two hands? Has it slipped out and you got to pick it up off the floor? That's fine. You can just wipe it off. Like, it's all good. And then also, this is a bit of a personal question, I guess, but have you found your way back to joy after losing track of it? Like, if you've been sitting in on this panel and you're thinking about all this stuff, has anyone actually gone on that journey with one of their hobbies where it was no longer joy and you found your way either to joy in that hobby or you just ended up finding something else that brought you that same joy? I'd love to know if any of you have gone on the journey. I'm not going to say full circle because we live in a giant infinity sign. That's one of the gimmicks they don't tell you about till you're... Hey, no one in here is turning 28 this year, are they? Nope. Someone got the... Oh, no! Okay, well, I won't say anything else. It'll be fine. Just... Do you have a belt? Because you might want to, like, bite it at one point, and then... It's a psychic thing. It's mental stuff. It's not nothing... There you go! Okay, so yeah, is your birthday a few months away? Is it really close? Pardon? November. Oh, I mean, that's practically next year. You got nothing to worry about. I certainly won't be near a TFcon by November, so it's all gonna be fine. Anyway, if you want to have an example of someone who has found their way back to joy, I'm gonna be a cornball. There's this really cool movie about someone who found their joy. It's by the Davids. It's a pretty neat movie. It's a maximalist cinema. This is the part of the panel where we can do a little bit of Q&A. Before we do that, though, I have a bit of a selfish request. So I know how, I talked about how you should be selfish and whatnot. This isn't hobby related, but is everyone feeling up for making like one big little bit of noise? Okay. Is everyone up for being filmed at a great distance while you do so, and it's not going to be put on the internet? Is this going to... I'm going to send it to my mom, because my mom's in the hospital, and she's kind of freaked out. So if we could all be like, yeah, you got it, or something. I'll give you a countdown. So how are we all feeling about my mom? 1, 2, 3. Okay, so when I ask you all to do that again on Sunday at 1 p.m. at the 2003 News Dive panel, which is going to be a really great panel I know you're all going to come to, if you could all pretend we didn't do this, so when I'm like, hey, can we all make some noise? And you're like, what? Why are we making some noise? And then you make a whole bunch of noise. You're like, yeah, his mom. Then everyone who wasn't here for this will be like, yeah, this is natural and organic. So can't wait to see you all on Sunday afternoon. Anyway, yeah, we got a Q&A mic over here. I don't think we'll need to have like a lineup or anything, but if there is one, please be orderly. And anything on here connects with you, or you just want to comment on what we've talked about so far. We've got about, let's say, 20 minutes or so.
I'll be quick.
Yeah, no worries.
I've been collecting since '84, so I've been around since the beginning, and the wonderful thing about it is that my collection has grown so big that my house is literally a museum now.
Knowable.
And so much so that there was a police officer in my neighborhood that was doing the rounds, and they came to my house to ask questions, and he literally paid me money to come to my museum.
So you got to now like budget for a ticket machine.
Yeah, he said, "Here's $1. It looks like you live in a museum." So I said, "Great."
Hell yeah.
As far as finding the joy, it's all there. And there was a few years back in my 30s where I was like, "Wow, this is sort of boring." It was because there was nothing new going on with it, and then there was this thing where it just decided I needed to find something that made Transformers even much bigger.
Yeah.
So every 6 months out of the year, for my joy to give back to the community, I give away a free figure that and I'm connected to like 5 Transformer books, 5 Transformer groups on Facebook, and I put a giveaway video. I pay for everything, shipping and all that, and it's a really big thing because there's so many fans out there that are not finding the joy. So I just want to say that if you're looking for anybody who has an understanding of what you're saying, yes, the C-SACC is being gripped.
You got a good hold on the C-SACC. You're juicing it.
Hello.
That's awesome. Thank you. I just wanted to say I have a friend who also does a similar thing. Brentosaur does a sort of Transformers giveaway thing now and then, and it is absolutely a source of joy. Like if you have enough excess where you're like, I don't even think I'd miss some of this, and you're able to just send some of it to your buddies who are looking for some pieces, it actually can feel really good.
Oh, as far as the really cruddy part that comes along with your hobby, it's scalpers. When you're looking for a really good figure, it's the scalpers that are selling the figures with the excess monies that they're not worth. So that's the ugliness.
Yeah, the scalpers are the icy wind shrinking your C-SACC with every frigid breath. Sorry, yeah, you have a question here.
Okay, I'm a collector as a kid, and even for now I'm collecting. I even got some alternate cards as a collection.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and I've been collecting a lot of Transformers too at the same time. I also collecting anime stuff, and also some Godzilla thing at the same time. Pretty much multiple stuff at the same time, pretty much. For me, I'm mostly focused on the Grimlock collecting for Transformers, G1 Grimlock. That way, Bay version doesn't count. I don't count that as Grimlock. That is not Grimlock.
Well, they never said his name in the movie, so it's easy enough to miss.
Yeah, that is good there. I did not think about it as Grimlock, so here it goes. I got a lot of Grimlock over the collection, and I have a combiner for the Volcanicus. So the one that for the what's it called, the one on the show?
Oh, from the Machinima show?
No, the one in the
Cyberverse.
I think that one.
Yeah.
I got that one, the one I have. Where it fall apart. It's so quick. It's like, what? And the question is, what do you think about collecting? Like, out of all the collection, what do you think you mostly like collecting the most?
Oh, like what do I enjoy collecting the most?
Yes.
For me, it is unfortunately still when new things come out that do really cool tactile stuff.
Okay.
So that sort of translates into, I love just buying everything that comes out. I can't, though. So now I try to, like, sight assess. Like, is that going to do a trick I like? Maybe I'll pre-order that one. Or does that one just... I actually just have a very Phantom-like feeling of sometimes I'll look at something and it'll just be like, I think I'm really going to like just getting a hold of that and messing with it. And I just ride that feeling out. And sometimes I see things that down the road I pick up. I do like them. When they come out, I'll look at them and go like, there's nothing wrong with this, but it's not making my my femur twitch. So I just got to wait, I think. So I'm kind of riding the vibe. But yeah, I personally really love new stuff that does cool new tactile things.
Okay, what about anything that are really hard to transform? Like, it's really tough to transforming.
Oh, sorry, I didn't catch what transforming?
Like if there's toys that are really hard to transform, do you want to try it out?
Yeah, it depends. I'll watch some videos sometimes, but as long as there's flow, as I call it, to the transformation in a way that hits my tastes, it'll work. MP36 Megatron, I love him. Fans Toys RC, I hate it. That's like one way I divide a little. It's a very thin thread.
Okay, here you go.
Oh, thanks very much. Yeah.
So, Something that I found really activates my joy a lot recently is like community events. So, sometimes when Hasbro does like one of the streams revealing off the new product, and, like, I'm definitely able to grab the C-SACC then, and like just the energy of everyone else sort of collectively grabbing their C-SACCs is amazing. Like when Death Source was revealed and we had just funded Star Saber. We thought that was probably much further off than we did, but to then just see like the CAD prototype, it's amazing. I just feel the energy of the mass gripping of C-SACCs during something like that.
When we all reach up and grip the C-SACC together, it is a communal moment.
Yeah, like if it's like a Transformers stream, a Nintendo Direct, or just some other community event, just something where everyone can go look at that and just grab their C-SACCs together, that is perfect.
Yeah. When you can, especially at a TFcon, when there's like a big moment, right? Like for those of you, there's a fly who does not have a C-SACC. When there's like a big moment, say in the third-party panel, I know there's a lot of folks who love to commune at those specifically for that communal like sense of excitement. And yeah, absolutely. Like we as humans inherently tend to really like being around other folks who are into stuff we're into.
Thank you.
It's working okay? Okay. So I actually did go through what you were talking about earlier this year. I only bought like 4 or 5 bots this year so far. I got a little disillusioned with the hobby, and I wasn't sure what to do about it. And what worked for me was actually just tidying up my space. My room was just covered in bots all over the place. So I took my space back, you could say. I rearranged some plays, put some away, replaced a few. And it helped me a lot too. It helps in my case. I have more than one hobby, like you said. I have video games, I draw, I write. Also got really into Godzilla this year, so I'm another thing to collect, unfortunately.
Hell yeah.
So I don't have much to say. I just wanted to say that I appreciate you doing this panel and talking about this thing, because it is something that people kind of overlook. It's a hobby. It should serve you in a nice, positive way. And then when you're not feeling good about the hobby, that feels awful to you, because something you're supposed to enjoy, and you want to enjoy it, and you got to find a way to re-enjoy it.
Yeah, and I appreciate you sharing, just that you're into a couple of things, because I think it's really easy for folks to, when they're really knee-deep or even neck-deep in fandom in the moment, it can be sometimes easy to forget you've got other things you're into. And it can help just to hear someone else say, as an example, someone might say, "Oh, did you see the new thing with the warrior class? It doesn't look like I'd have much fun with it at all." And someone might go like, "No, I agree, but I looked at it and I was like, yeah, I got it." Anyway, I went and bought some Lego because I really like Lego too. And sometimes that little reality check moment can be really helpful. Just to hear someone say "I got other stuff going. I went to check out the new Godzilla because I've been kind of digging Godzilla lately." And someone might just have a moment where they're like, "I forgot Godzilla exists. I should go look into that."
Yeah, that was me with -1, and now I'm obsessed with the Godzilla. I also want to say YouTube live streams, very fun. Keep doing them.
I'll do my best. They do bring me joy.
Yeah, thank you very much.
They bring us joy too.
Oh, that's a happy byproduct, I guess.
So, back in the 90s, when I was a very small punk teenager, I did Transformers fanzines.
Woo! Hell yeah!
And I'm kind of plugging someone else's project here, because James Roberts has been working on a book about Transformers fanzines from the 90s.
Hell yeah!
And for me personally, it's been a rough few years.
Yeah, it's... there's a reason that I put this decade comma and then just went to another bullet point.
Yeah.
Because we only got the 40-some minutes.
It's been bad. I've been on social media. I put Outback Era on my name as an X-Men reference, because I ended up having to move out to the middle of nowhere, back to where my parents were, and I feel disconnected from everybody. But then I found out, James Roberts put out the call for fanzine people to contribute.
Yeah.
And so I started going through all my old stuff, and I found the box that my C-SACC had been packed up in for all that time.
C-SACCs keep for a while.
They do. They really do. And, I've been involved. I never went away from Transformers, but the fandom I've kind of had to step back from and step back forward to and step back from over the years. But going through my old fan fiction, and it was terrible. It was so bad. But I remembered how much joy I had in writing it. I remembered the joy that had inspired me to create all that. And that brought back to me so much of that feeling of what I had found so much joy in as a teenager, making all those Xerox pages and smelling all the hot chemical smell. And so I really appreciate that he did that. I know Tony Buchanan has also started doing issues of Auto Update again, which is a classic newsletter style fanzine. And sometimes you gotta go back to your roots, I think.
Yeah, I didn't really touch on it in the slides, but I guess I kind of alluded to it in the diagnostic idea, because you got to think about what did make, if you're in a hobby and it's feeling just utterly joyless, if you're in a hobby, there was at least one moment where you had some joy. And it's, even if you want to bail on it, it's worth at least going back and thinking about what made me, into this so much that I made fanzines that I wanted to post in the community. That doesn't mean as much now, but like back in the late 90s, early aughts, posting on a message board was a bit of a step forward. It was kind of like, I was terrified to start posting on message boards in 99, because I was like, what if all my posts aren't bangers and everyone doesn't think I'm cool? Because I was a teenager.
Yeah.
And that's how we thought. But and also like fanzines are still, like they're still around. I see fanzines or fanzine likes at least at Artist Alley all the time. And I know folks who like learned how to do like at-home fold binding over lockdowns, because they were like, I want to make a zine of just some themed artwork I've been doing, so I'm going to figure out how to, cut and print all this. Getting your hands into your hobby in some way, be it physical or even digital if you're doing video, music, something like that. It's just another way to mess with it. I don't mean to keep using the word engage, because it's corporate AF, as the kids say, which means as fudge. But it is a really fun way to approach it from another angle, because if you love something enough to like want to hang out in its community, there's a good chance you want to at least try making something. And if it sucks, at least you tried. And making something that sucks means that you're going to make something that doesn't suck that much the next time. And, a bit of a negative wording, but that is kind of also the essence of creation in general. Like, to go to a YouTube angle, whenever people say, how do I start making a YouTube channel? It's start making videos and leave them up unless you said gamer words or something. Because or at least unlist, don't delete them. You need that evidence of your old work to build from, even if you yourself never want to look at it again. I need to refilm those animated toy reviews someday, because I can't listen to my voice from 2008 anymore without going like, who's this little scumbag? I'm going to flush him down a toilet. That's probably something I should talk to a therapist about. But no, thanks very much for bringing that up.
Hello.
Hi!
No, I just wanted to kind of briefly touch on just like finding, or returning to the joy after losing track of it, because I think that's where I kind of have been for a couple of years, while still maintaining probably a very unhealthy amount of amassing stuff.
Yeah, I should say that like everything I describe, it's all various different aspects of one gigantic bar graph. So like if your joy thing, is down here and you're starting to raise it up, that's really good. Much like your own body, you could be sorting out your cardio and your blood pressure might still suck because you got like, oh, I'm also eating a fistful of salt after every meal or something. So, it's all over the place.
Right, because at this point, it's just lots of stuff that I'm not even opening. I'm amassing it, I'm putting it away, at this point, it's between my parents' home, where I live, and a storage unit. It's too much. And I think really this panel series, for one, has really helped me kind of start to engage and think, okay, am I really enjoying this stuff? Where are places that I can cut back, sell stuff, donate to a charity auction, perhaps? And it's been an interesting journey, and even just kind of rediscovering, because in combing through some of the stuff I've stored recently, I remember finding, or even just taking my Beast Wars stuff and just messing with it and feeling that amount of joy for some of the earliest part of my sort of journey with this franchise, and really engage, okay, what was it about these toys that I liked? Where can I find similar things with some of the new stuff, or even what stuff doesn't hit those marks, and kind of call it away, hand it, and pass it along to people who definitely would enjoy it more than I would right now. It's taking up space, it's collecting dust. Someone else will just crack it open and be like, oh my God.
Yeah, I can feel it because I am totally a depression clutter sufferer still. So that's a very salient point to me, and I have done that too. Like I have gone through some stuff where I'm like, I haven't messed with this transformer for 10 years, and I like get halfway through transforming it, and I'm like, this thing's baller. I'm putting this on my desk again. This thing rocks. Why didn't I buy more of these? Oh right, it was 2010. I can't really redo actions from back then. But yeah, it'll happen. And also, sometimes when you look at in Transformers alone, when you look at something from say the pre-movie era. Now that you may have not even laid hands on since the pre-movie era, there's just so much osmosis knowledge that you'll have taken in without even meaning to, where you might just start thinking to yourself, oh, it's neat how this has a spring-loaded missile. I haven't seen one of those in such a long time. I forgot what it's like to feel a spring-loaded missile hit me in the face. Let me give this a shot. Oh, that was a bad idea. But, as maybe a less helpful example. But, yeah, retouching old pieces is, I think, really important as part of just self-diagnostic. It's why the giant line of guys standing on a shelf, I always hope to see another photo where one of them at least has moved slightly, where it's like, I hope that you've grabbed the one in the back at some point.
All right. Cool. Thank you.
No worries.
Hi.
Hello.
Yeah, so I'm not much of a toy collector. I'm more like a comic book guy.
Yeah.
And one of the big issue I had with comic book in the last year is nothing's really like good in my opinion. Like there's like good story, but nothing like stick like before. Mm-hmm. So I just started to look at cover I found cool. I was like, oh, I never saw that character before, and start to read about that character like on the wiki, and like, oh, that looked dope, so I'm gonna read an old story, and I just discover new character and new story I never thought about like reading. Like I was like a huge Spider-Man and Hulk fan, but I never was like a big X-Men reader before, and like, oh, Dazzler is nice. Dazzler is like from the X-Men series. X-Men is like, okay, I knew Wolverine, Deadpool from X-Force and stuff like that, but like not much about Nightcrawler and other character that's really upfront. And yeah, I just start to enjoy more character, more story from the past, and like I just collect cool cover.
One of the best parts about looking away from the one hobby into other ones is people keep making stuff. Like that's one of those weird things that the humans do. Let's be real now. We're gonna talk about them, the humans. They keep making stuff all the time. So like when I go to look at say like Godzilla or something, I'm like, what's Godzilla been doing? They're like, oh yeah, we got like 4 movies since the last time you looked at this. It's like a pleasant surprise. One of my favorite things is when I pick up a show years after everyone I know has already watched it, and I say like, yeah, I'm watching this thing now. Like if in say 8 years, I'm like, I'm gonna watch this dungeon meshy anime, and then all my friends, in those situations tend to be like, oh damn, I love that show, and it like brings back happy memories for them because its recency tone has evacuated by that point. I have been watching Dungeon Meshi though, so I'm up on that one. I'm just as an example.
I never watched The Office before 2020.
I haven't either. It's like all these like stacks, right? Like I talked about this at another panel once, how you can't feasibly actually take in every media that ever gets made. So if you miss some, don't worry, because it turns out the really good ones you missed, they're still, as long as they didn't get deleted for a tax write-off, they're still there. So, and by now, people are just bootlegging everything, because who knows what'll happen to it. So someone will have preserved it somewhere, and you can check it out. Yeah, we got about 10 minutes left, so.
So I'm more of a mainline guy. I don't really like doing masterpiece stuff because it's usually very hit or miss with the masterpieces. But if it's the one thing I always come back is mini-cons. They're like crack to me. I love mini-cons. I absolutely despise how many of them there are and how many promotional exclusive ones there are to Japan. And Japan, they're like TV magazine ones and World's Toy Fair promotional ones, and there's one of them that you had to buy like a camera at a specific Japanese camera brand store. There's just...
Continue, but they did that with the Energon weapons right afterwards, too.
Yeah, there's so many of them, and at some point I had to look at it and I was like, okay, so there were only like ever 150 Drago Yells made, so I'm probably never gonna get my hands on one of those.
Yeah.
And realistically, I was like, well, maybe I'll just go back to my goal of getting all the ones that do the combining thing. And that's been a lot more manageable because there's a lot less of them.
Yeah, and then I will make the guess that like you found the combining thing also just maybe a little more engaging to your senses and your tastes than like literally everything, right?
Oh yeah.
That's finding out why you enjoy the toy.
Yeah, especially since there's so many mini-cons and there's so many repaints, and some of them are so obscure that the TF Wiki doesn't even have anything on them.
M. Cypher's trying to photograph more of his rare ones, I think.
Like, I'm still trying to find at least one member of that Micron booster Star Saber. The one that's made of the slightly sparklier plastic than the retail release. I haven't found one yet.
If you want to feel real, just like where's my time machine, especially with the Energon weapons, some of those things were actually very plentiful for over a year.
Yeah.
It's just that was 20 years ago. Yeah. And in the intervening 2 decades, everyone was like, oh, you know what, maybe I will pick this up. It happened enough times, it happened 120 times, and then the 120 limited one, it ended up just running out.
Yeah. But I have found it's definitely a lot more, it was aggravating, and then I cut the rest of them off, and I was like, okay, this is doable now.
Yeah, that's a huge part of not just finding your joy, but that extends into the other panels as well, is like honing in on what you actually like and not feeling like you're obligated to hit everything else if it is, especially if it literally is not bringing you, you know, happiness, right?
Yeah. But
so thank you very much. We probably got time for the one more here.
Howdy.
Hi.
So, in the early 90s, I got really deep into the Transformers fandom and started collecting everything, because you could kind of do that back then. And I bought all of G2, and I bought all of Beast Wars, and Beast Wars Neo, and Beast Wars Second, and then Robots in Disguise, and then Armada. And at some point, I realized it was a chore. It was work. It wasn't fun. And I kind of turned inward, and I took a good long look at why I was doing it. And I said, well, I really like the thrill of the hunt. I like being involved in the community, but I don't necessarily like getting all this plastic. And I switched to what I call digital collecting, where I hunt for production artwork and, full resolution scans of the box art.
Yeah.
And, it sort of scratched the itch of the thrill of the hunt without taking up all the space in my house and making my wife go crazy.
I had a moment in the mid-2010s when I just had this moment of epiphany where I was like, friggin' gamers are buying digital games. That's their hobby. They buy things that don't even physically exist, those scumbags. Every time I buy something, it's a thing that I have to put somewhere. I had this moment of utter irrational anger when I realized gamers tend to buy things that don't physically exist, and I got so mad at them for 5 minutes.
I like that my collection fits on a phone.
Yeah.
And it works for me. So when I heard about you doing this panel, I sat in on one 2 or 3 years ago at TFcon in Burbank, and I'm so glad that you are exploring this idea and kind of sharing it with everyone else, because I never thought, I should document my epiphany and share it. And you're doing that, and I think it's really valuable to the community. So thank you for doing
Well,
that.
thanks very much, and thanks for coming to a couple of these. That is all the time we got. I don't know if you know, because I have an entire playlist of it, I love talking about this kind of topic, so always feel free to hit me up. Also, I'm doing a panel 1 p.m. Sunday with my buddy Aaron over there. We're going to talk about our dive through the year 2003 of Transformers fandom news. It was a real trip. I also have Transformers Magic the Gathering Commander decks, Transformers TCG decks, and the Transformers deck building game. I am here to be an analog gamer with physical objects, not like those digital gamer scum. Also, I'm doing a playthrough of Elden Ring. Anyway, thanks so much for your time. And I'll catch you all around, and you'll be here Sunday, right? If you're here Friday. Yeah. Anyway, go.
Big TFcon, thank you, everyone. Thank you so much, Chris, as always, very contributing member.